What's the most clutch moment from Michael Jordan's career? Is it the shot?
Puts the shot in the air. Good! The game's over.
The final shot?
Jordan, open. Chicago with the lead.
The college shot?
18. Shot. Jordan.
It's a hard question to answer. However, when it comes to which moment best encapsulates Jordan's sheer determination and almost pathological will to win, there is no debate.
Now the big story here tonight, the story concerning Michael Jordan's physical conditions. He is suffering from flu-like symptoms.
It is without a doubt the flu game, the night Jordan overcame his own body to reinforce his legacy as the greatest competitor in NBA history.
It's all about desire. You just got to come out here and do what you got to do. Somehow I found the energy. Just stay strong. I wanted it really bad.
As the 1997 NBA Finals dawned, a coronation of another Chicago Bulls dynasty seemed inevitable. After all, the Bulls had Michael Jordan, who had firmly re-established himself as the NBA's most transcendent superstar following his shocking retirement and brief foray into professional baseball. In 95-96, his first full season back, Jordan led the Bulls to a historic 72-win season and another NBA championship, earning his 4th MVP award and 4th Finals MVP award in the process. And his royal heiress was no less remarkable the following season, leading Chicago to 69 wins and helping them breeze into the NBA Finals once again. In fact, across the first 3 rounds of the 97 playoffs, the Bulls lost just twice as Jordan averaged roughly 31 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals per game. They were unstoppable. And look, that's not revisionist history or a slight against the Utah Jazz. The Western Conference champions won 64 games, had the MVP in Karl the Mailman Malone and another future Hall of Famer in John Stockton, and similarly breezed through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs to earn the first finals appearance in franchise history. The Jazz were talented, they were balanced, and after making it to the playoffs in each of the previous 13 seasons with nothing to show for it, they were hungry. But these were the Bulls. Michael Jordan's Bulls. And as the best of 7 unfolded, it sure looked like Chicago was going to breeze to a 2nd straight title, and their 5th in a 7-year span, without really breaking a sweat. In Game 1, behind a 31-point outburst from Jordan and another 27 from Scottie Pippen, the Bulls outlasted the Jazz in an unforgettable series opener. However, Pippen's greatest contribution that Sunday night at the United Center was unquestionably the psych-out he delivered as Malone headed to the free throw line with less than 10 seconds left in regulation and the game tied, famously telling the Jazz big man, "The mailman doesn't deliver on Sundays." Well, Malone proceeded to miss both free throws, and a Jordan buzzer beater on the ensuing possession lifted the Bulls to an epic victory. After that, Chicago dismantled Utah in Game 2, beating them by double digits thanks to a 38-point, 13-rebound, 9-assist performance from MJ. The Bulls, as per usual, were in the driver's seat. For the 2nd year in a row, Chicago had stormed out to a 2-0 lead in the finals, a seemingly insurmountable deficit for any opponent. Except as the series shifted to Utah, the Jazz found their groove. Malone, after choking in the series opener, took charge in Game 3, scoring 37 points while adding 10 rebounds to help Utah to a much-needed win. Then, 2 nights later, it was Stockton who shined, dropping 17 points while adding a dozen assists as the Jazz evened up the finals at 2 games apiece. Yeah, this thing wasn't over. Suddenly, heading into the final game in Salt Lake City, the series had become a best of 3. And what happened next, the theatrical turn that this finals took, would become the stuff of legend, an essential part of the Michael Jordan lore and one of the most unforgettable chapters in NBA Finals history. In the early hours of the morning on Tuesday, June 11th, the day of Game 5, MJ was awoken by some serious stomach problems that wouldn't relent. He ended up staying up all night vomiting with what was later officially identified as the flu. When his then personal trainer came in to check on him in the morning, Jordan was curled up in the fetal position. It was bad. And over the last quarter century plus, the actual cause of Jordan's stomach upset has been the subject of intense speculation. One of the most popular theories was that Jordan was actually hungover after partying late into the night, either at Robert Redford's chalet or in Atlantic City, depending on who you ask. Meanwhile, others wondered if Jordan had gotten hit by altitude sickness due to Salt Lake City's intense elevation. The official explanation, though, according to Jordan himself, his stomach problems were actually a bout of food poisoning caused by a Pizza Hut pizza that he alone ate the night before Game 5. Actually, his personal trainer speculated that that pizza might have been poisoned by some nefarious Pizza Hut employee who wanted to see the Jazz emerge victorious. Look, ask 5 basketball fans why Jordan was unwell and you'll probably get 5 different answers. But the bottom line is that with Game 5 of the NBA Finals just hours away, Michael Jordan Michael freaking Jordan was in no condition to play. While the rest of the Bulls did shoot around that morning, a dehydrated Jordan was hooked up to an IV drip. He stayed in bed all day, and he was in such a lousy state that even his own mother advised him not to play. But this is Michael Jordan, and it was the NBA Finals. If he was breathing, he was playing.
Now the big story here tonight, the story concerning Michael Jordan's physical conditions. This Jordan arriving about 2 hours ago. He is suffering from flu-like symptoms. Made his way onto the court just moments ago, and as you see right here, looking a bit shaky. He was up all last night, spent all day in bed, did not eat at all, did not go to the shoot-around earlier today, did not practice, so his status is uncertain.
Yeah, uncertain was definitely the right word. Although Jordan mustered enough strength to take the floor, how effective would he be? Could he still beat MJ in that state? Well, as it turned out, the answer was yes. And over the course of that evening, the dehydrated, dizzy superstar delivered a performance that only he could, an impossibly dominant effort that became one of Jordan's defining moments. The Bulls' first bucket that night? A Jordan jumper.
Too far out of his range there. I just don't think Carl had any idea what the shot clock was.
And Jordan trying to slip it, and then took it back and hit. So Michael Jordan, despite visibly shaken by the flu symptoms, connecting from the corner to tie the game at 2.
As a matter of fact, Jordan was the only Bulls player to score through the game's first 5 minutes. Frankly, Chicago was out of sorts early on both ends of the floor, and the Jazz capitalized, storming out to a 13-point lead by the end of the first quarter. But that's when Jordan said, enough of that. The ailing superstar went off in the second quarter, putting on an absolute clinic while somehow playing all 12 minutes.
Michael Jordan has had to carry so much of the load as Hornacek, back-to-back horrible turnovers for Utah.
And Jordan puts moves on Hornacek. Jordan finding Longley. And the Jazz now leading by just 9 on the lineup. Jordan to the crossover. Yes. Not bad for a guy playing with flu.
Yeah, the flu was no match for MJ. All told, Jordan dropped 17 points in the second quarter, including 9 from the free throw line, to cut his team's deficit to 4. And although Jordan was quiet during a more restful third quarter, the Bulls kept the game close. And when the fourth quarter arrived, Jordan took over like he always did in crunch time. The flu be damned.
It is 2-2 right now in this game number 5 as Michael Jordan cuts it to a 5-point Jazz lead. Chris Morris with 11 points off the bench. Jordan, yes. Jordan fires for 3, yes. And he's tied the game at 77. And he did it in casual form, and you can see how exhausted Michael Jordan is.
This guy was on the verge of collapsing, and yet he had almost single-handedly erased Utah's lead. And sure enough, in the closing moments of regulation, with this pivotal contest up for grabs, it was Jordan who called game.
Marv, the Bulls have been here so many times. The huge games, year after year, the confidence, the poise, the determination, the discipline and organization down the stretch, all paying off right now with Jordan masterfully at the line.
Jordan able to scoop up the loose ball for the possession with 40 seconds remaining. The game tied at 85. On the shot clock. Pippen backing Hornacek. Here's Jordan for 2. Yes! Michael Jordan from straight away.
Although the Jazz scored a quick 2 on the ensuing possession, a defensive breakdown from Utah allowed the Bulls an easy bucket moments later, restoring Chicago's 3-point lead with just over 6 seconds remaining. And as an exhausted Jordan staggered to the bench for a last-second timeout, barely able to stand up without Pippen's help, everybody watching knew that they had just witnessed history. Moments later, the buzzer sounded. The final score? Chicago 90, Utah 88. The Bulls had regained their series lead on the back of one of the most improbable, unforgettable individual performances in NBA history. A performance that would forever be known as the flu game. 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks in 44 minutes. All while feeling like death.
Michael, one of the great performances, the way you were feeling
You played 44 minutes. It was all about will.
Yeah, you know, it's all about desire. You just got to come out here and do what you got to do. We wanted it real bad, you know, and me as a leader, I had to come out and do my best, and hopefully the team could rally around me and come out and make contributions.
Never any doubted down the stretch. How weak were you?
I was really tired. I was very weak. At halftime, I told Phil that use me in spurts. But, I mean, somehow I found the energy to stay strong. I wanted it really bad.
And well, that was the series right there. 2 nights later, back in Chicago, the Bulls completed the second leg of their second championship three-peat, downing the Jazz 90-86 in Game 6 on a game-winning jumper from, believe it or not, Steve Kerr. For his part, a much healthier Jordan scored 39 points in the series clincher and proceeded to be named Finals MVP for the 5th of 6 times in his career. But even if he'd been held off the scoreboard entirely in Game 6, Jordan still would have been named Finals MVP on account of his effort the game prior, a legacy-shaping night that he described as probably the most difficult thing he's ever done. Just how legendary was his flu game performance? Get this, the Air Jordan 12s that MJ wore that night sold at auction in 2023 for almost $1.4 million. And almost 3 decades later, it's impossible to have a conversation about Jordan's outsized legacy without mentioning that fateful night in Salt Lake City, when the fiercest champion in NBA history wouldn't allow anything to stop him from winning, not even his own body. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.